Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. Recently, Vladimir Putin claimed that Russia supported the American desire for independence from Great Britain. Allegedly, they actually supplied weapons and helped with the money. Cue a loud slap as historians across the world engaged in a collective facepalm.
Кстати говоря, что касается американцев, у нас же всегда были на протяжении очень длительного времени были очень добрые и своеобразные отношения с Соединенными Штатами. Мы же поддерживали их стремление к независимости от Великобритании. Мы реально поставляли оружие, даже поставляли, деньгами помогали и так далее. Потом Север поддерживали в ходе войны Север-Юг и так далее. Так что и вот в этом смысле все-таки мы находили нечто такое, что нас объединяло.
Oh, so according to Putin, the Russian Empire not only helped the burgeoning United States fight off their British masters, but also supported the North in the Civil War. It seems that the next claim will be that Prince Vladimir baptized America. So, yeah, this is definitely fake news. The American revolutionaries did receive foreign support, but the country you're looking for is France, not Russia. Actually, Russia didn't even recognize the U.S. representative back in 1780 and refused his credentials. It only recognized the U.S. in 1803, almost 2 decades later. So, no, you haven't been sleeping during your history class. It's just Russia that keeps telling you manufactured narratives again. Putin's statements about assistance for the US in gaining independence are not just nonsense. They are, in fact, strategic nonsense. The Kremlin realized long ago that if you can't change reality, you must rewrite the past. Or, better still, invent a parallel story where Russia is a good Samaritan who always helps everyone, but for some reason nobody likes them afterwards anyway. Womp womp. I guess now that Trump decided to help Ukraine with air defense, Russia will lean heavily on weird stories of century-old friendship like this one. To me, however, this is the most pathetic case of notice me senpai in world politics ever. Okay, so let's talk about tides, which may actually be about to turn in terms of US-Russia relations, and not in the way some people initially were hoping for. Remember all the talk about resuming cooperation, great trade opportunities with an economy the size of Texas, and all that? Well, that's probably gone now, out of the window like so many Russian executives for whom falling out of Putin's favor carried more gravity than usual. It seems that all of a sudden, Trump doesn't enjoy talking to Vlad the Invader anymore. Let me quote his most recent statement. "We get a lot of BS thrown at us by Putin, if you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless." Oh, and the BS part? He didn't mean Bachelor of Science, if you want to know.
Perceived, I don't know if they're enemies, but they're perceived as being potential enemies. We're not happy with Putin. I'm not happy with Putin. I can tell you that much right now, because he's killing a lot of people. And a lot of them are his soldiers and their soldiers, mostly. And it's now up to 7,000 a week, and I'm not happy with Putin. Wow, this might be a chance. And we get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Trump and Putin definitely have a somewhat complicated relationship. Some people believed Trump to be in cahoots with the Russian dictator. Others claimed this was a great powers kind of thinking. Others still said, let him cook, claiming Trump knew what he was doing from the start. Regardless, the Kremlin bromance show seems to have finally been axed, hopefully in favor of a new series that's more Game of Thrones than Bridgerton. Which, if it does happen, should definitely make Putin worried. Trump's use of an F-bomb in a presser to express his annoyance with the war was one thing, but he's also dropped literal bombs on Russia's Middle Eastern friends recently, and that's the side of MAGA Moscow clearly didn't enjoy all that much. Still, A major caveat here, we still don't know what weapons Ukraine will be getting from the US now that Trump's been aggroed by Vlad, who's definitely the master strategist, having wasted the chance of wriggling his way out of his Kiev in 3 days debacle through, actual peace talks. So is this going to be a Jake Sullivan returns kind of story with more drip feeding? Or will Trump change his mind again because he considers Zelensky's suit jacket to be so 2023? People ask those questions, but ultimately, I guess you don't build a real estate empire if you can't tell when someone's wasting your time with promises of a bogus deal, just like Putin keeps on doing. You know the saying, money walks, BS talks, right? And with Lindsey Graham's Russia sanctions bill already on the table, Trump's the reluctant Anakin Skywalker holding an economic lightsaber, while everyone, from Ukrainian front lines all the way to New York Post editorials, keeps doing their best Palpatine impersonation and shouting, "Do it." The Kremlin is growing restless again. Margarita Simonian, chief ambassador to Russian state pride and the go-to person to explain how war crimes are a hobby like any other, has now reached a new level. She is about to go all in on rewriting textbooks. And not just Russia's own textbooks, you see, but also those in Kyrgyzstan, because it turns out the Russians felt bad not only for themselves, but also for their newly enrolled students.
У нас поручение от президента работать над единым образовательным пространством. Мы это обсуждали. Сначала интонация была недобрая, как сейчас в вашем вопросе, а потом горжусь тем, что это было мое предложение, и оно было принято, и мы сейчас работаем над этим. Это такой первый шаг. Мы договорились просто пересмотреть, перечитать и их учебники, и наши учебники, и какие-то такие вещи, которые чувствительны для той или для другой страны, оттуда убрать. Еще раз, история всегда может быть субъективна. Вот все. Мы попробуем. Вот это первый такой шар. Вот Киргизия – это первая страна, с которой запущен такой проект, собрана рабочая группа, и мы над этим работаем, будем работать. Попробуем. И вообще хорошо бы для начала из наших учебников убрать то, что оскорбляет нас. Самих.
В наших же учебниках?
Конечно. Конечно. Угу. Тоже можно перечитать.
There we go. You see, she solved all the problems. Give her the Nobel Prize already. Trump doesn't stand a chance against her. Anyway, and seriously, the first thing that she said was that the tone was not good. Well, this obviously is diplomatic language for Kyrgyzstan was not happy when they were told that Moscow would now edit their textbooks. However, Margarita, ever the true Jedi of soft power, proposed a compromise. Let's cut out everything that offends us, both you and us, and if a story offends someone, then that story is wrong. An ideal new textbook for a school child according to Russia Today. Chapter 1. History begins in 1945. Nothing important happened before that. Chapter 2. The USSR is the best thing that ever happened to anyone. Chapter 3. If you don't like Russia, it means you haven't studied paragraph 2. And Chapter 4. All empires were bad, except one. Take a wild guess which one that is. Ultimately, this is nothing new. When Russia invaded Ukraine, they already had textbooks on the history of that weird, non-existent thing called Russia, written for the sole purpose of explaining why Ukraine allegedly isn't real. Foreign relations? Oh, you've already heard me telling you how, according to the Kremlin, the Russian Tsars are apparently America's real founding fathers. Russia might not be big on progress. I can tell you this. They definitely did invent the retcon before it became a thing in Western pop culture. That and deleting people from your friends list before social media even existed. You have Stalin to thank for that. And with this, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.